So you're a medical writer, right? So does that mean you write all day long? And the answer to that question is no. I don't write all day long. I think there's a lot of misconception around exactly what a medical writer is. And hopefully, if you've been watching some of my videos, you've learned a little bit about what a medical writer is. But in today's video, I really wanted to share 7 other tasks that a medical writer may do besides write. So currently I work in medical communications at a large biotech. My role is Scientist 3 / scientific content specialist. And while I'll say about 40 to 50% of my work is writing, there is a whole lot more that I do. And if you get hired into a scientific content role, there you may be called to do other things besides write. And I think this is really important to put forth because with the rise of AI chatbots and AI writers, there's been a lot of concern around, are the medical writers going to lose their jobs? Are we going to need writers? Are writers going to be relevant? And I think maybe there is some concern around that. But to be honest, there's so much work in my role right now. There's as I'm filming this, it's a Saturday, and I'm just thinking about how much work I have to do on Monday. That is writing / all the other things I have to do. There's a lot of work out there. So anyway, let's jump into the video and let's talk about what a medical writer may do besides writing. So I remember when I was working at a marketing agency as a medical writer, one of the tasks I had to do was come up with a content strategy for our clients, right? So some of the clients that I had, we had to come up with a content strategy for them that was going to be executable, first of all, and also that would deliver results for them, that would help them rank in search engines, that will help them, appear as a thought leader, and that would help them achieve their goals as a business. And so coming up with that content strategy is different from writing because you're not writing blog content, you're not writing a white paper, you're not writing an application note. Now you're trying to think through that business's objectives, the products that they have, their messaging, their branding, who they want to be in the marketplace, and you're trying to come up with content solutions, right? Because maybe this company, based on their needs, they need to have video content. Maybe this company, based on what they need to have more white papers out there, more application notes out there. And I'll do another video defining some of these terms, but they may need different types of documents in order to fulfill their business needs, right? And I'm sorry, that computer there is I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, don't pay attention to it. So yes, coming up with a content strategy would sometimes take me 3, 4, 5 hours to do of a day. So that's definitely something that we did. Another thing that I did that was usually part of a content strategy, but can also be on a task on its own, was doing SEO research, doing deep search engine optimization research for clients. Every business needs this. Every business, I don't care how big they are, I don't care how much money they have in their budget, they need search engine optimization, because if your company's website is not very well search engine optimized, you're going to get buried in search. And with so many more people paying less and less attention to ads, right? If you only pump your money into ads, it's going to be hard for you. Now, I'm not saying that there's no place for businesses, especially in the scientific, medical, healthcare space, to do ads. There's definitely a place for that. But a lot of the time, a lot of us shut off our brains when we see ads. Somehow we're told we're being sold. And so many of us don't like the idea of being sold too. However, if you go search for something and something shows up in search results, and at the top of your search results, you're more likely to trust that, right? And say, oh, okay, this showed up, and so let me check that out. So doing search engine optimization. This was one of the big things I did in my marketing role. So usually marketing writers will do that. The first two things I've talked about are mostly the things that marketing writers may do. If you work in a medical writer role, and this could cut across the different types of medical writing, you could be a regulatory writer, you could be, you know, a medical education writer, or you could be in the marketing space, right? You also have to have the ability to communicate with program management, account management. There are all these terms that I know they're new terms, but usually, for instance, when I worked at the marketing agency, we had account managers, and essentially what account managers did was that they were the customer facing person for the company, right? And so I remember one person that I worked with very much at my old agency, Huri. Hey Huri, if you're watching this video, hi. Anyway, so Huri was the account manager on the accounts that I was on as a medical writer, and she would communicate directly with the clients and then relay their feedback, relay everything that they had for me to me. So she was sort of that liaison between the client and the agency and the people in the agency. So that's what she did, right? And so you have to interact sometimes with clients, with account managers, with the project managers, with clinicians, in my role currently, I'm always having to talk to the R&D scientists because my team is made up of R&D scientists and I'm the scientist on the team that writes. So I'm always having to talk to them. What are you guys doing? What do the experimental timelines look like? When do you expect to have this data by? So there's going to be a lot of that takes up quite a bit of time. Like I want to say, like, in a day at least I spend an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, like trying to communicate with some scientist about something, right? So there is that as well. Apart from writing like brand new content, as a medical writer, you may also be called upon to update content. So there could be content somewhere, right, on a website, in an application note, in a white paper, in an ebook, and they'll say it's been 3 years since this book was written and we need to update it. I actually did a massive project whilst I was at the marketing agency, and it was like there were 2 ebooks I had to do a lot of rewriting and updating of content for. That was still a lot of work. Still a lot of work, and a lot of the content new content I was putting in there was new data that the company was generating. They had new technology, they had a lot of new things in that span of time, in that 2 or 3 year span of time that they had written that ebook. And so I had to update it with new information, new research, a lot of new stuff. It wasn't writing it from scratch, it was a lot of updating. I did end up having to write another ebook from scratch, but that's a whole other story. But that's another thing you may have to do, is bring documents up to date. If you are in this type of role, depending on the company you work in and depending on the kind of medical writer you are, you may have to interact with the graphic design teams that are putting the document that you're writing into a graphical layout. So you know how, you may see a white paper, you may see an application, or you may see a case study or blog post. You can download like a really beautiful looking PDF. That does not happen by accident, okay? It happens with a close collaboration between whoever wrote that document and the graphic design team. And so I have to do that. I've done that. I did that at the marketing agency I was at, and I'm currently doing that because the graphic designers, even though they may have been working in the health and bioscience space for a really long time, sometimes they may not know where specific diagrams are supposed to go. They may put the wrong figure legend on the wrong figure. So many things could go wrong, right? They're really smart folks. Listen, I love my graphic design people, okay? I love them because they make my work look beautiful. But in order for it to also be accurate, in order for everything in that document to look good and to be placed well, you may have to work and collaborate with them to get everything right. There were even times where the graphic designers had to draw new images, or we had to draw new images as the agency, and so they'd be like, hey G, so what does that image look like? And I would have to literally research, sometimes open textbooks, go on Google, do my research, and then go in Canva and like just try to like put this is so funny, and try to put something together. Like, okay, this is the concept. Okay, can you create something more impressive? Because I'm obviously not a graphic designer, and they would work on it. Okay, so it's things like that. You will really have to work closely with them to make sure that the illustrators and the graphic designers are making your work look. Sometimes in producing original documents, you may also have to talk with subject matter experts, right? And this is where AI may not be able to take our job, right? You actually have to talk with a subject matter expert. And so there have been times when I've had to get on a video call with somebody that is an expert in their field, and I have to ask them specific questions, right? And then transcribe that and then code them in the document that I'm writing. And I had to do that multiple times. I've had to do that multiple times in my career. So that's another thing you could be doing. In that instance, you're not writing, you are interviewing the subject matter experts, you're taking that information. And I highly recommend that if you have to do this, right? First of all, you need to have your questions that you're going to ask them. You never want to go into it blind because you're going to have to develop something. So I always would have that. I'd have my director of content check that and make sure there were good questions. And sometimes she would add some really good questions as well. But another thing you want to do is record that meeting, record it. And now there's so many tools out there, AI tools included, that will allow you to transcribe that interview. And then once it's transcribed, you can take bits and pieces of that. When you transcribe it, listen, it's not pretty. So don't use a transcribed document. You'll have to pull from that transcribed document to create your document. But yes, I did that. Lots of fun. The conversations are a lot of fun, but like when you have a 30-minute interview, the transcripts get long, and when you're reading through it, the way we speak is not always the way we write, right? And so when you're reading through it, it can be tedious, but you'll get so much from that. So that's another thing you may do as a medical writer.